Alcohol is hardly ever considered a drug because it's legal, socially accepted, until it gets out of control.
Ask the Messenger's TV show is a TV show that educates, informs, and entertains our viewers on public health issues such as mental illness, suicide, addiction, illness and disease, COVID-19 relief, crime, domestic violence, homelessness, human trafficking, employment opportunities, healthcare, and more. And now, Ask the Messengers.
April is Alcohol Awareness Month, and today on Ask the Messengers, we bring you stories from those who are living sober and how they decided to put the drinks down. Plus, alcohol awareness history as told by President and CEO of National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence of Greater Detroit Area, Dr. Benjamin Jones. Ask the Messengers begins now.
Us up for great detriments. We realize that there are some people that are able to drink and it's not problematic for them. However, there is that part of our society that there are those people for whom alcohol is problematic. And because it's problematic for them, it becomes problematic for all of us. And encourage them to seek help. It's a wonderful thing to see someone who actually makes that turn and goes into recovery. If you are blessed to be a part of somebody's recovery, you will never forget it, and they'll never forget you. Thank you to all of those that are in the trenches doing the work. Stay on the wall. Keep fighting the good fight, and it shall be well.
Actor Rob Lowe has been sober for more than 30 years. Take a listen to his advice about staying sober while socializing and why sobriety is the best thing he ever did.
When I decided to stop drinking, I could not imagine life socializing. I was like, for example, I love baseball. And I remember thinking, well, I'm obviously never going to a baseball game again. Because why would anybody go to a baseball game if they can't drink a beer? What's the point? And I remember thinking, well, I'm never going to celebrate New Year's again. I mean, what's the point? And I remember thinking, well, I'm never going to have fun at the 4th of July again. And listen, for the first year, I just did other things. Like I didn't put pressure on myself to enjoy those things in the way I did drinking. I found I would do something else fun during that time. And I got to be honest, that lasted for me. I don't even think it lasted a year. I think literally within the first year, I was like, I don't need to drink for this. And when you're ready, you're ready. You know, you can't be ready because your boyfriend wants you to do it, or your dad thinks you should stop drinking, or you got a DWI and you're worried about your license. None of that worked. Nobody cares. That isn't going to ever do it. You have to be ready. Obviously, a lot of people have been helped with Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a big believer in that. You can just dial, information in your community for the AA hotline, and they will provide you with meetings. And it's a great fellowship, and I would recommend that as the first step. It's a great choice, and it's a great journey. I would. It's the best thing I ever did, by far. And I have more fun today than I ever had in the days when I was drinking and drugging and doing all this stuff. And by the way, I had a lot of fun doing that.
Chrissy Teigen is a Sports Illustrated model and the wife of singer-songwriter John Legend, who is a year sober. Here's what she's shared about making that decision.
I just really never had that period of time of like clear thought, even when I was, and if I wasn't drinking, it was because I was hungover or something. Yeah. So it was just like the whole detox out of my system of it, and realizing you get this this high from having energy and being able to play with your kids and roll on the floor with them. And I mean, there's just my best friends, my closest friends, my family, everybody's noticed a difference. Well, I've been struggling with it honestly for the past couple of years. Was when I knew it was kind of an issue. I mean, I just even doing interviews and things. Yeah. I would think I needed a glass of wine and then it just started to get embarrassing, like at award shows and things, and everyone memes it and thinks it's funny and cute, right? That you fell asleep or something at the Oscars, but I mean, it became embarrassing, and I am obviously with someone like John, who is. It's hard to be around somebody that's so respected and so beloved and so loved, and I just was like, I can't be the messy one. I just can't. This is embarrassing, and I don't want to waking up in the morning and being like, what did I say? Like, that's so embarrassing, and then it was just not worth it. That feeling is not worth it.
Stay tuned for more of Ask the Messengers.
I am a person in long-term recovery from alcohol misuse disorder, and I have not found it necessary to take a mood or mind-altering substance since November 26th of 2008. I also work in the addiction treatment field, and I have since 2009.
My story is a story that's really about an alcoholic problem that was just unheard of for a family, for a man that came from a family that no one drank, and nobody in my family were what you call addicted to anything except maybe church going. We was a church going family from the time I was born, and that's part of the reason I probably fell to alcoholism.
One of my earliest childhood memories, I didn't even realize until I got older, was the smell of alcohol and cigarettes, and I had no idea how that would impact my life.
So I started drinking alcohol at age 13, and by the age of 13, I was already really involved in athletics and pretty successful in athletics. And so when I found alcohol, it was the perfect thing to give me that release that I needed, and honestly to keep me relevant socially, because I spent so much time swimming and so much time playing soccer. And so really from the very first time I drank alcohol, I say that I drank alcoholically. I would drink to blackout. I would drink to oblivion. That's just what I did. And I didn't know that that wasn't normal. That's just what I did. So throughout high school, I would drink on the weekends, and I just became kind of a party girl, and I was really social. And what I like to say is that one by one, I just started giving away the things that mattered to me. I gave away my athletics. I gave away my really solid 4.0 GPA. I gave away my relationships with my siblings and my family. And, by the time that I reached college, I was really just kind of living for the next adventure and living for the next party. And, it's something that no one would have really known about me. I always maintained the facade of having it together, of being a good student, of having healthy relationships socially and within my family. But there was a consistent internal struggle going on there that no one knew, and that I wasn't self-aware enough to know at the time either. And by my early 20s, I had gone to 3 different colleges. I had had about 4 different majors. I just was confused. I was lost. I had really partied myself out of all 3 schools. I didn't get kicked out, but I should have. I moved into my parents' basement at age 20. I felt like a loser. All my friends were still away at school, and they were starting internships, and they were starting careers, and I was back here in my parents' basement.
I was born in the late 50s, a baby boomer, and got to see a lot of the history. And of course, in the 60s, a lot of the rock and roll and the things changed, and a lot of the addictions became really prevalent at that time, mainly to LSD and all types of drugs and new things other than alcohol. And when I was young, in my teens, I experimented with all those things and got a real taste of what it was like to be an addict to something. And however, when I got into my late teens, I had stopped entirely with the drugs, the alcohol, and the whole gamut, and became a Christian. And I kept myself in the church setting quite a bit, and was married and had 3 kids. And during that time, I became very judgmental and very prideful, in my position. I looked down at people, I guess you could say, and wonder how in the world they could live the way they live, had families and they'd give up all they had. Well, that pride was the downfall for me. Things happened, became disgruntled, even though I was very involved in the church setting, and I was involved with the youth, involved with the music, involved with I guess you call groups where we would talk about the faith and all. We call them cell groups, and all that time, I think my pride was getting bigger and bigger. And when the bottom fell out and I became disgruntled about some things, decided one day just to drink. And that it led into 2 decades of drinking every day, and life was going in such a bad direction. But I was having so much fun. I thought with the party and hanging out with new people that I never met. And just had scores of friends that we all just like to hang out and drink, and I disregarded everything important in life, like my family and friends and bills and anything else that would come in the way. I started, of course, I was in the automobile industry. I sold cars, and it was kind of a place where everybody used cocaine. They drank, or at least the good majority of us did. And it became more and more party. And with that, it led to other issues, and which are probably not worth mentioning. It's the same things that so many people go through when they become an addict. It's chasing women and being unfaithful to my wife and not being a good father, all those things.
Our house was kind of like party central. Every Friday and Saturday, it wasn't really a place for children. There was always gambling and cursing and smoking and drinking and a lot of people, and we had to stay upstairs or stay in our room. And when I would look out and peek on them, it always looked like they were having fun. I thought that's what adults were supposed to do, and I wanted to have fun. I wanted to see why they looked so happy every weekend, and that's probably what drew me to it. Well, what really, I would say, triggered my alcoholism and addiction was my mother never really loved me, and if she did, she didn't know how to show it. And I didn't really understand that till I got older. She made all these babies, but she didn't know how to love us because she didn't love herself. And when you're 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, you don't understand that all you know is the woman that you call mom is supposed to love you. And when you're always curse words and belittled and put down, I can't speak for nobody else. It just crushed me. It broke my heart. All I wanted was her attention, and I couldn't get it. And I think that hurt, anger, and depression just became too much for me. Yeah, when I first tried it, to be honest, it took everything away, but I didn't see the other side of it. You know, the devil don't tell you the whole story. He doesn't tell you the addiction side of it. Yes, instantly it was gone, but it came back every day. It never totally left. And I got caught into this spiral I didn't realize I wouldn't be able to get out of.
We'll be right back with more of Ask the Messengers.
When I had decided, and others told me the same, that serving other people was what kept them sober, then I didn't think of anything else. So kind of dedicated myself to helping other people. And honestly, there's times it's hard to do. And there's probably times that I can honestly tell you that other addictions tried to come and raise their head, because it seemed like when you get rid of one addiction, another one wants to come in and fill its spot. And that's why it's important to read and to pray and do the things that they tell you to do, because they can fill the spot that the other addictions that want to come in, like workaholism, shopaholism, and all the other isms in the world, until they become wasms, I guess you could say. Then we need to continue to do what we do, and that is to reach out to other people and help.
I wasn't born an alcoholic or an addict. I made a choice, and I opened the door I never should have opened. But by the grace of God, He taught me how to get out of that room. It can grab you to a point you can't find a way out. I don't care who you are. You're not that strong. You're going to need the hand of God to pull you out. And I would just love to use any platform God would give me to convince people that you can be free. You have to put in the work, but you can be free.
An estimated 15 million people struggle with an alcohol use disorder in the United States, but less than 10% of them receive treatment.
So addiction treatment really looks different for every individual. It's based on where they are in terms of the progression of the disease. It's based on their willingness and what they are willing to commit to and to do. But what is recommended based on the research that we do have on substance misuse disorders is that at least 90 days of treatment in a structured, sober environment produces the best results in terms of long-term sobriety. So honestly, the longer the better. The longer that an individual can stay in a structured, supportive, sober environment, the better chances they do have of long-term success. What I tell people who have a friend or a family member who is struggling with this disease and they want to look into getting help for that person, I tell them to gather the facts and to gather the resources. So by the facts, I mean the basics. What is that person using? What substances are they using? How long have they been using those substances? Have they been diagnosed with anything else other than substance use? A psychiatric illness? Is there anything medical going on? If those things are present, it's helpful to have documentation of that, any medical records. Another thing is, how do you plan to pay for or cover their treatment? Do they have insurance? And if so, it's helpful to have a copy of that insurance card. These are all things that you're going to do to prepare to reach out to the resources that you gather. So when I say gather resources, I mean do your research. Look at programs that might be a fit for your loved one. And today it's a lot of people are going to the internet to find those resources. And unfortunately, it's not a trustworthy place today. It's actually can be a dangerous place to find a treatment center for a loved one. So I suggest that they find the resource the same way they would any other healthcare resource. How do you find a primary care physician? How do you find a new gynecologist? A lot of people will ask the people that they know, and they'll ask people in their network and people that they trust. And, the unfortunate thing about addiction is that a lot of people still don't really talk about it. So you might not know someone in your immediate circle who has dealt with this individually or with a loved one. You may not feel that you have those resources, but I guarantee if you put it out there to your circle, there will be someone who knows someone. Another suggestion that I have to gather resources is to contact a licensed or certified professional in your area or even nationally, because someone who is licensed or certified and actively working with people with substance misuse disorder, they will have resources that they will be more than willing to share with you, and those resources will be those that they trust or that they might have referred people to before. One resource that I often suggest to family members and loved ones is intervention. So intervention isn't always like the show on A&E where it's this big dramatic event. There are many different types of intervention, and there are many very professional and highly experienced interventionists based all over the country who your family or your group can hire and work with to help facilitate the treatment process. It's especially helpful when your loved one is not willing to go to treatment. They may not be at a place where they have reached the stage of change of readiness to get help for themselves, and intervention really helps create that. Additionally, interventionists often will work with your family or with your group while the person is in treatment. So they act as a bridge between the treatment provider and you guys, and they are able to communicate things that might get miscommunicated otherwise. They also provide support after treatment, which is very important. As I mentioned in the beginning, at least 90 days of support is what we know based on research is most effective. So the longer you have support for the addicted person, and even better if it's for everyone involved, the better the outcome is going to be.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of Ask the Messengers. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you would like to help support our show, please feel free to make a donation of any kind by visiting our show website, www.askthemessengers.org. If you prefer to mail donations, please make check or money order payable to Ask the Messengers TV show and send it to 18400 Schaefer Highway, Detroit, Michigan 48235. Ask the Messengers is the program that deals with things that help you. Thank you for watching.